It's not in vain. I'm afraid that much of the labor that we do in Christianity, we think that it's almost vain, that it will produce nothing, it will do nothing, it will bear no fruit. And sometimes when we see something that seems to have borne no fruit, we say, well, that bore no fruit. But how can we judge on this side of the line, on this side of heaven's gate? How can we judge what bears fruit and what does not bear fruit? I think we'll be surprised. I think our world will go topsy-turvy on the great day of judgment when we maybe find out that all the things we thought did not bear fruit bore fruit, and all the things we thought were fruitful were fruitless. Now say that 3 times. We should be optimistic about every work of God, because God begins nothing that He doesn't finish. In His economy, He does not waste time. I was talking to a girl yesterday, or 2 days ago, from Kirksville, Brother Leiter's daughter. I love her so much. She went to Romania with us, and she said, well, I think I'm going to go to the university and I'm going to study to be a nurse. And, well, how do I, know if this is the will of God? What do I do? I said, well, first of all, what do you want to do? She said, well, I feel like I want to go study. I said, then go study. Well, what if it's wrong? God will fix it. And even if it is right, if He's telling you to study, He might send you there for all completely different reasons than what you think. You might think that you're going there to learn how to be a nurse, and He's going to take you there just to meet your husband. Who knows? You never know. Sometimes we are too mature, too adult-like. We need to be more childlike. I remember one time listening to this old preacher, and they called him on the radio. It was kind of a radio program, and this young man, so sincere, called him and said, sir, I feel just drawn into the Great Commission, and I just want to go and to a people group that doesn't know Jesus, and I just want to preach the gospel, but what if it's not God's will? And he said, son, if you get out of God's will trying to obey the Great Commission, I'm sure He'll forgive you. There's a sense in which we're so burdened down with whether we're right or we're wrong or this or that, and when I see a person like that, I have to remind them, you're trusting in your ability to hear, and you're not trusting in God's ability to lead. God's ability to lead. It's so much different. It's so different than what most Christians believe, the leadership of God. Let me give you an example. I was preaching in a place one time, and there was a lot of disruptions. A lot of disruptions. And I'm preaching, and people are out there, they're testing me. There was a group of people, they were testing me. They were going to see how far they could go before I did something. And finally, I'm sitting there preaching, I'm preaching, and then all of a sudden I said, be aware, you group. Listen to me, you young people. Listen to me. And then I said something that totally terrified me. We're going to start this meeting over again, and then partway through it, there's going to be a disturbance. There's going to be a disturbance in this thing, and we might not even be able to finish, and your chance to hear the gospel is going to be lost. And everyone, all of a sudden I thought, oh my, why did I say that? What am I doing? I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm some kind of false prophet. I'm up here like a crazy man predicting something's going to happen. Why did I even say that? We started preaching again, and all of a sudden the doors started rattling, and someone came in and made a bunch of noise and all sorts, and fear fell on the whole place. Now, I want you to see. Now, why did I give you that example? To show you not to think much of men or their ability to hear. Most people, when they saw all that happen, thought, Paul Washer is so spiritual, he heard from God, and he made a proclamation. It was so clear from God what he heard that he told us, and it came true. That's not the way it happened at all, is it? All of a sudden, for some reason totally unknown to me, I said that. And it scared me to death, because I thought, why did I say that? I don't even know why I said that. And it happened. Now, that is a perfect example. I'm trying to give you things that are reality here. It's a perfect example. Believers in the Bible and believers today end up right where God wants them to be. And for the most part, it's not because they heard His voice or heard a vision or anything else, or their great ability to discern the voice of God. It's the great ability of God to lead. And many times we don't even recognize it was the will of God until we look back and see the hand of providence all through our lives. And so so many people are timid, thinking, well, I feel like I might want to do this, but I'm just afraid to step out. There's an open door here, but I'm afraid to go through it because I might be wrong. Not me. I've got a little, I don't want to say a deal with God, but it's basically like this. God, if it's an open door, I'm going through it. You don't want me to go through it, close it. And when I'm trying to go through what I think is an open door and it closes smack in my face, and carnal Christians look at me like, well, guess if you didn't hear from God, it doesn't bother me in the least. There's all kinds of little white ivory theologians out there who are always critical about other people trying to follow God. They don't bother me in the least. They never do anything, and they never amount to much. I always tell young people, I say, listen, if God's called you to go to Indonesia, then buy a plane ticket and go to Indonesia. If you can't afford a plane ticket, then, well, just get on a boat. If you can't afford a boat, start swimming. If you can't swim, well, then just fall in the water in the general direction of Indonesia, and God will get you there. There is a real sense in which God, when He calls, He makes a way. And not only does He make a way, He gives the grace to carry it through. To carry it through. God gives you everything you need in order to obey His will. That's why sometimes timid Christians will say things like, I feel like God maybe is calling me to start a Bible study, or God has called me, or the pastor has asked me to help in this area, but I just don't think I have what it takes to do it. Well, that was never the question. Everyone is in agreement with you that you don't have what it takes. Come on, Einstein, we all know that. The whole question is not whether or not you have what it takes to do it, is are you going to depend on God? Like I was saying yesterday in the youth meeting, I was so excited. I saw something that just so encouraged me. There wasn't a piano player or anything, and Brother Bob asked the girl, he goes, you think you could play that song? Most teenagers I know would slump down and say, no, I can't, and giggle and be embarrassed because they're afraid they're going to fail, and no, I don't feel comfortable. This girl said, well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I can play maybe with one hand. Any other response is pride. Pride. Because fear of failure is many times just wrapped up in your pride, your fear of losing your reputation. Sure, I'll give it a shot. What if you fail? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I don't care.